All right, here we are with After Party 12, I think, already.
Yeah.
Where we're going to discuss sessions 36, which is called Join the Club, 37, Old Friends, and 38, New Ally.
We're basically middle-aged.
Yeah, let's jump into 36, which is when we start in Port Randus, I believe.
Just about.
You said it correctly.
Yeah, I wrote it down this time.
Well, and 36, of course, we had our special guest, who only one of which was able to join us today for the after party. So JT is here with us. Hello, JT. Thank you for joining.
The crowd goes wow.
Wow, thanks, Mom. Hello.
Will you slowly say your full name for me?
Sure. He was Percy, the previous paladin.
The permeable,
I thought there was more than that.
pickled, peanut butter.
Yeah, there was quite a few more P's.
Pimply, prickly, plump.
Yeah, give me a second here. I'll have to look that up. Because I had to write it down.
I was too lazy to click back and listen to it again so I could try and write it down.
Yeah, it's not like it's recorded or anything.
Yep, there's no record.
So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about our NPC guest, JT. How did you feel about joining in with the at the bar with your character and giving us a little bit of information?
Oh, it was fun. I didn't know what to expect, honestly, kind of coming into it. So, I expect some incorrigible-ness that would come, of course, with the party. But I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to play this character and how it was going to be received within the dynamics of the group. It's one thing to listen to the podcast, another thing to actually interact with the characters.
You survived. That's saying something.
Yeah.
You give us a lot of credit that we don't deserve.
No, it was good. It was. I enjoyed hearing your story and then being able to interact and give you a barrage of questions that I always tend to try to see if I can slip up and see when Leland's going to jump in and say, oh, no, that's not what happened.
That is the game you play.
I thought it went pretty well, actually, especially considering how much we grilled you guys with 20 questions. So I thought that was good. Leland must have really prepped you guys, or you just kind of rolled with it and answered stuff on the fly.
Well, I'll give Christy a lot of the credit. I think it's her previous experience in doing this that probably carried us a little bit more than me. But Leland gave me a whole rundown, like a page and a half of notes that I had to kind of work through. So I thought I was studying for a history exam when I was showing up. So I wasn't really sure. I was like, okay, am I supposed to have this memorized? But luckily it was an open notes exam, so I just kept it.
Open book. Yeah.
My favorite kind.
So you did give us a lot of good information that, you went into the blue light and you survived, not your entire party. Apparently you left some of them to die.
Apparently I was going to Kmart, and getting a special, so I wasn't sure what to do with that. Yeah,
and I think there was was it robots? Is that the way you presented it?
Metal beings.
Metal or mechanical
metal
beings
snakes.
Or snakes, yeah.
Yeah, Cobra.
Whispering Tobias's name.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Uh-huh.
Very interesting.
Were they all cobras? Do you remember?
Changing the subject. He's so smooth.
No, I am curious because if they were all cobra, are they all snakes or were they different types of robots? Do you know, or DM? Are you going to elaborate on that, or are we going to leave that be?
Percy and Agnes, they saw two types.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big and little.
Yeah, I didn't say anything, and I'm trying not to. Leland, you can tell me how much you want me to actually say at this point.
Well, if we didn't do a great job of getting the info out of you, then it's probably kind of metagaming to...
Even if we found something out, we're not supposed to play as if we knew.
No, I think both JT and Christy did an excellent job of just, threading that little bit of needle for you guys and just dropping just the perfect amount for the party to pick up on. And should they choose to do something with that information in the future, then it may benefit them if they can recall it.
Were either of you expecting us to invite you along on an adventure? On a boat ride, a puppy ride,
on the wooden puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I was expecting to be invited. I think it was just one of those things that I was just happy to survive, and so I think that was good. I looked down and I realized I was not wearing a red shirt during the podcast, so I thought it was okay.
Yeah, there was a point where I was like, John, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I was crapping my pants during that. I was like, I'm pretty sure they can't commit necessarily to coming on to our next play session, so how's this going to work?
I just wanted to see how it played out. That's half the fun of role-playing, right?
After Patrick, like, he wasn't there, but we left the cave and both just, like, we had to walk the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, there's only one way out.
Yeah, well, ultimately, the party basically just stood up Agnes and Percy.
Yeah. Never made another mention of them. I don't know
true.
if it was that we all forgot or...
I don't know.
I don't think we cared.
Like, in real life, did we forget? Or did we just roleplay it so well?
That actually does kind of bring us to our first listener question we have from Jess. She just kind of was wondering what's going on with Percy and Agnes, and she says, I just imagine them going to show up for that boat and the party will have just bailed, and Agnes is like, called it. And she wonders what were their first impressions of the party.
Oh, my thought is, at least from Percy's standpoint, is that it would have been, another day in the park, and that he lived. But they were kind of suspicious in the first place, I think, of the group, and how much they were really going to do anything. Percy leaned over Agnes one time and said 2 words, meat shield. So I think there was a little bit of gamesmanship on both sides from Agnes and Percy and the rest of the party. At least that's my take on that.
Yeah, I think Shaft wanted to use you guys as a meat shield too. So I think we all had mutual meat shield and expectations, intentions. Yeah,
Some consensual meat shielding going around.
I don't know how to take that.
Well, I figured you guys will just get on the boat and do the whole tour like you were planning on doing to make some money. And we had no intention of doing the entire tour anyway. Right, we were going to pop off.
I was kind of hoping you guys were going to maybe get on that boat, because...
I was too, to be honest.
I was hoping for like a Gilligan's Island kind of side quest thing going on, and it's turned into a 3-hour tour or something, but...
I wouldn't have cared. I'm guessing, like, me finding Brendel changed that a little bit.
I think Captain Chum would have been
I do hope Captain Chum
fun.
makes an appearance again.
Which I have to say, Captain Chum is an amazing name. That was one of my favorites out of the entire episode, Captain Chum. So I chalked that one up to Leland. So that was fantastic.
What was the name of the boat? I don't remember.
The Rising Starfish.
Oh, the Rising Starfish. There you go. Maybe I did write that down.
Probably not.
I did. Yeah, so we ran into Brendel, which I did not see coming. That was quite a twist.
That was fun.
I did
Thanks to
not see
Bryn.
it coming either.
Okay,
What?
like,
What?
when Bryn looks around, like, do I see anyone looking like Falzarin? I literally was only hoping that maybe someone looked like a magic user or a wizard, a random person, and they could, like, give me more information on, like, the new magic that he's claiming to have and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Well, I run into Brendel, and then I don't... First of all, I'm not really sure that I played Bryn right. I started just, like, spilling my guts to Brendel.
You were drunk.
You were inebriated, yeah.
I was a little drunk.
That's true. Yeah, I think that can kind of account for it. But
But I seemed to trust him because he was telling me all about Falzarin, and I was getting very curious because all of a sudden I'm like, I haven't really cared, but he hasn't really told us much.
Yeah,
So-
he was rather quick to button up once you were kind of defaming Falzarin by the end of that conversation.
Well, and yeah, I didn't know, like, where the two of them stand and stood, whatever. But that's why I wanted to check out what was in his bag, like, what were his intentions, sort of.
Leland, are you implying that you didn't have any idea that that was going to happen? That Brindle was made up on the spot and just injected into this moment?
Basically, when Elena was like, "Do I see any Roby types?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is perfect." Yeah, you see Brindle.
Did you make up the whole friend's death at that time too, or was that already part of the story?
That was kind of fabricated along with Brendel's circumstances. Kind of.
Because you were like, that's why he would be
well,
here.
because I knew I knew I wanted to bring Brendel in somehow, because I had, previously dropped his name, right? Izzy had mentioned to him a few episodes ago, to Falzer a few episodes ago that she had seen him. So I know he was kicking about, right? So it was just kind of...
we wouldn't have heard that,
Stumbled into an opportune moment to inject him in.
So did Memnar exist previous to that?
I totally knew about him.
I think I'm seeing behind the curtain too much. I don't want to.
Yeah,
know
no.
this.
I was like, when you said Memnar, I was like, oh, okay.
You're like, okay, yeah, him.
Gonna have to just roll with this. Memnar, I'm like, I guess he was young. Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Memnar, he was in the prime of his life.
And you did do a great job, Bill, just kind of rolling with the punches, yeah.
I'm excited to have another NPC, I think.
Yeah, I quite like Brendel.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And, I mean, he's not really a healer per se, but I think, he can sort of function like one a little bit if he can make us some potions that might help us out when we're wounded or cursed or poisoned or whatever.
Yeah, I think
he
can certainly offer a bit of versatility to the group, possibly.
Yeah.
He sounds like Leland, though, so it's hard to tell when he's
talking.
talking.
I know. I try to make him sound a little cultured and kind of...
He uses big words to an extent.
Percy sounded cultured.
That's true, yeah. It's tough to compete with Percy, the previous
Percy
paladin.
sounds rich.
Now, can we have some backstory on Percy, since he was previously a paladin? What is he now?
He's just a merc at this point.
So he fell from grace in some way?
Yeah. He tried to be a little bit too perfect, and his perfection led to his downfall.
The old story.
Yeah.
Now he's a sword for hire.
Now he's just a sword for hire. So, and Emily, I did find that full name for you, but it might take you a while to write it down.
I copy-pasted.
Okay, good. Got it.
Was not writing that. It was like 20 words.
Yeah.
Yeah, remind us here, JT.
It's Percy, the previous paladin who protects against the pestilence of pride without prejudice.
That's impressive.
Good job.
It's pretty good.
So, how many of you've played RPGs in the past, I assume?
Yes.
What different RPGs have you played, or has it primarily been Dungeons & Dragons?
I have played D&D. I have played Rifts, if you're familiar with that one. More of a sci-fi thing going on where there are dimensional rifts in between worlds and dimensions.
Oh, cool.
Is that one kind of mash-up-y as well?
Yes, you can actually mash up everything. It's I think it's made by, is it Paladins? The name of the company. And they basically made it to where, because it was dimensions, you could like throw in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in with people that were in mechs and all kinds of stuff. So they made it kind of fun where you could really throw whatever you want to at it. Played Call of Cthulhu, which was actually really fun. And I also played Werewolf back in the day when that got started, when they had like Werewolf and Vampire the Masquerade and that kind of stuff. Those are the major ones that come to mind.
Yeah, I haven't played any of those.
I haven't barely even heard of any of those.
I was going to say my silence is because I don't know.
I've heard of Call of Cthulhu, but that's it.
Yeah, I've heard of Call of Cthulhu and Vampire the Masquerade. That was like a 90s, right?
Recently re-released, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think I played some riffs before, but that was on Guitar Hero.
Okay.
Nice. I like it. I like it. So that was definitely a mom or dad joke, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
You did call me mom earlier, so.
Yeah. And then there was another one. off the top of my head now that you guys said something, but it's escaped me now. It must be my old age. But yeah, those are mainly 90s style RPGs that had come out that I played.
And have you played any recently other than just doing this?
I played D&D a couple of years ago with some friends, trying to kind of kick back something and relive our past. And then, of course, we didn't have time to finish it. So, so goes. But we actually talked about doing something online similar to what this group is doing here. Where we could try to do something like that, because it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. So it had been a while. So I'd love getting back in and playing some RPG again. I actually asked Leland beforehand. I was like, am I supposed to roll a character? I haven't rolled a character in years, And he's like, no, you don't have to worry about all that.
Well, we sort of jumped through all three of them because they all sort of meshed together. These 3 episodes were all role play.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any fighting or anything in there, so there's no real rule corrections because we didn't really do anything.
We didn't break any rules.
Because we're the best.
And there was quite a bit that was off mic, too, right? I mean, there was a big set part of the episode 38 that was all Falzarin. I think there was a little bit in 37, which was just Shaft.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we did anything in 36 that was necessarily.
There's
off
also,
mic.
you guys did a bit without me as well. Like when I was up chatting with Brendel,
Skiing.
Right.
You guys were.
We talked bad
had a
about you.
conversation. I can only assume.
When I was with Brendel, everyone was listening. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a
true.
good. Like,
That's true.
I apparently am not cool enough to get solo
Well,
time.
that's also part of the more spur of the moment.
I was gonna share anything
the
anyway.
meet cute,
Yeah.
if you will.
All of a sudden, you're like, you look around, you see Brendel. You're like, what?
I think you wanted to have a thing for Brendel.
I kind of wanted to mess with Falzarin. It's kind of like the whole thing where Falzarin has messed with me just because Bill wants to make Elena mad. I just wanted to make Bill mad.
I would never do
I just-
anything like that. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I just thought it would be fun. You've admitted to it in the after party before. Like giving Shaft the credit. That was the whole thing. You're like, I knew it. I said it to make it right.
I think my favorite part was when Bren walked up to me when I was hitting on the waitress.
That was funny.
Because I was at another
I don't
table.
think I heard that.
And she just started talking to me. And that's when I went, what the hell?
Oh, wait, that's what you meant? I am so slow. I'm just kidding.
I was at another table talking to the waitress, and you walked up and started talking to me. So I role-played that you just scared the shit out of me.
Oh, I thought that I walked up to you, and that's why I was so confused by your reaction.
No, I get in the mind and picture myself and what I'm doing sitting there, and all of a sudden, where am I at relative to everybody else? So when other people are talking, I try not to interject if I'm not where that is.
I know, but in my mind, I was walking to where you were.
Right, I didn't.
You
pick
just
up
didn't
on
know
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when it's just in our head. Yeah.
yeah. I thought it was funny. I wanted Leland to do the waitress's voice too, and we only got a small snippet of that, and it was a little breathy, and it was nice, but
Well, you left her a little flustered. I mean, it's
I'm waiting for the high pitched voice. I think I want early Isabella Good voice.
early Isabella. Well, early
Yeah.
Isabella had her pitch changed during post.
In post, yeah. I forget why, but I remember when I was playing Bryn in that bar, I had a good reason to get drunk, and now I don't remember why I was getting so drunk.
I think
But I was
you were
doing
just
it on
pissed
purpose.
off.
You were mad that
I'm trying to remember.
Falzarin had made it sound like there was going to be lots of rewards or benefits to us for going up to Pisces, and then
And
I
then
I backpedaled as soon as JT and Christy were here.
So I was just still mad about the whole saving Falzarin thing, and then, okay.
But yeah, I thought that the party would catch on to the fact that it doesn't mean that there's not anything to be gained from this, but I'm not necessarily wanting to cut into random strangers to,
Hey, Brendel's a
we end up
random
getting
stranger
this.
as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he wasn't there at the time, was he?
I guess,
No.
the rest of us
No.
don't feel threatened by strangers. We can take them. We can make the problem disappear. Just like I can make Erica disappear.
It certainly felt like that as a stranger. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, Brent, want to see my blade?
Yeah, it was kind of awkward when there was a flirting moment with a rapier. That was kind of
Yeah.
sure how to deal with that.
Yeah.
No kink
So
shame.
that was fun.
I liked being goofy. It was fun to be a little tipsy.
Little loopy.
Yeah. I figured like I gotta start playing up the chaoticness of Bryn. Like if you're truly chaotic.
Chaotic could be fun.
Yeah. She's been hanging around Gozer too long.
Yeah, I was gonna say it can also be annoying.
No, I'd never annoy you.
That was the laugh. All right.
Are we?
That's the laugh you listen for when you know of Leland's line.
That's my really big
Wow.
tell, yeah.
Leland, you got a good hand this game? Yeah.
But see, now I know you know, I know you know I know you know.
Well, I can know that you know that I know, but, you know.
Well, these 3 episodes, I mean, like John said, like, it was mostly like a lot of talk, a lot of big talk going on around here. And not too many answers to, I think, maybe a few more questions that have been formed now.
I think the party has all learned how to be vague. Everybody's being extremely vague with everything that they say. Any direct question is always sort of sidestepped
Yes.
for every one of our characters.
Yes.
Unless you're Bryn and drunk.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I say things and I go, "Oh crap! I hope there's not a follow-up question here," and everybody just doesn't say anything. And I
Yeah, I know. But I think it's to the point where there's no use saying anything because you know it's going to be sidestepped. So they may as well just push things forward and get to the conclusion like themselves.
go, is that what we've become?
I think that's what's happening right now.
The situation that reminds me of is when I'm like, oh, Shaft, I see you doing a ritual. Remember you were doing your ritual? Tell me about it. You're like, not going to tell me anything I don't already know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's just like,
Yeah.
it's worth a try, but like,
Yeah, I kind of wonder what our characters will do if one of them starts to decide to open up. Is that going to be the thing that we need to
Well, it'll be you.
cause some of the others?
It'll be you
I mean-
because you've set that precedence, 30 episodes ago. You tend to spill the
you're the
beans.
good guy.
Yes, that's true. But I think Falzarin's evolved a little bit to hold his cards a little bit.
He definitely,
Closer.
absolutely. Falzarin has certainly grown in that regard.
We've given you some life experience.
Yeah, right. But I think it literally is to the point where each of your characters kind of that should they open up a little more and divulge a little more of this information they're trying to keep, not necessarily hush hush, but information of omission, that it's just going to be giving the rest of the party leverage over them.
Yeah.
And it will most assuredly
That's
be
true.
used as such, which is really terrible for party cohesion, to say the least. But it's I think it's
True.
very
We
interesting.
all agreed to leave Falzarin if he didn't see things our way.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
let's talk about that. This guy shows up on the dock. Somebody died, and he wants to take him back for a funeral, right? And he's actually considering it for a moment after what we just went through, right? I mean, we just saved him. He has this mission for Izzy. It's the most important thing in his life right now.
Until it's not.
For all kinds of reasons. I mean, he's trying to sell us on it, and then he's actually considering it. And Shaft has to sort of say, "Oh, you got stuff to do, right? You're not going back to this funeral." And then they go to the bedroom, and then they reemerge, and they're on the same page and ready to go adventuring. So, from Shaft's perspective,
Yeah.
obviously this dude really didn't mean anything to either one of them.
Yeah. So
We didn't hear that conversation with you and Leland, so.
No.
Right.
But, I mean, from
I
our
wasn't there.
perspective, from
Brendel.
Brendel.
Brindle,
Oh, I mean, well. Gosh.
right? So, yeah,
Splitting hairs.
I thought that was a little odd.
I thought it was weird that they agreed so quickly, because we were all like, yeah, we'll leave him, it's fine, like, he's not going to want to go.
Yeah, I don't think Falzarin was necessarily so keen on dropping the current plans, but more so wanted to
Pay his respects to this made-up guy you just learned about?
well, spend some time chatting with Brendel, most importantly, and getting on the same page in private was what Falzarin was wanting to do.
Okay, so once you came out of that room with Brendel, did you think we were all still going to get Erica? And then
Yeah.
what was going through your head when we were all trying to convince you to go fix the river?
From Falzarin's perspective, as long as that still allowed us to go up to Pisces,
But doesn't necessarily, though.
and didn't cause a huge delay, that's fine.
No, we
Did
jointly,
we promise that to him? 'Cause I
We
don't think we
jointly,
did.
We did.
all three of us, Gozer maybe just because of the money, but you and I, even you more than I think, really convinced him that we needed to do this.
Well, we promised him magical items.
Yeah, and I think you guys thought that was like a huge selling point for Falzarin, but it wasn't.
It always
was
has
more
been.
So it was
Well,
more
yeah,
so the
it's
fact
worked in the
that
past.
like Falzarin really wants to continue in the direction that we're planning on going, and this isn't a big deviation for that, so that's fine if that's what you guys want to do. And
Falzarin was compromising?
yeah, and I think Falzarin wants the extra help on this next journey, so he's like thinking to himself, well, if they're still willing to come along, but it just means that maybe it takes a bit longer to get where we're going, and it's not as direct of a path, that's fine.
Do you think we'll all survive the trip? That's the question. I don't know. We've barely made it here.
I think the other interesting thing is how much Brendel spilled his guts to somebody he met on a dock.
Oh, yeah. He loves me.
Well, he did until you started bashing on Falzarin, but I think he gave
Well,
you
yeah.
some information about his history.
Oh, for sure.
The first thing he said was we got into the bar where all the rest of us were, and he said, "Oh, I want to apologize for letting everybody know this, and this."
Yeah, he
he was just
repeated
filling
it.
everybody else in too.
He was apologetic for overstepping, for sure, yeah. And then continue to overstep.
Yeah. I'm sorry I
like
told him about that guy you murdered. Oh, yeah, here's some more people that know about it now. No, I think Brendel's going to be... well, honestly, I think Brendel is Leland's way of poking the party.
Well,
Yeah,
yes,
that's true.
very, very much like Thuft is in some aspects. Though Thuft is more of an unwieldy rapier for the pokey poke, if as Schaff would say. Brendel is a much more refined type of tool for sure.
He's a tool, all right.
I think I like that you've thrown in another NPC that you can use to
Goad us?
add some. Well, yeah, that's not how I was going to say it. But basically, add some plot flavor and maybe drop some suggestions to do this or that or the other, which are more in line with maybe where we should be going instead
you
of
saying
where we're
Thuft can't suggest
deciding that
things?
we're going to go instead.
I don't think you guys would listen to Thuft if he did suggest things.
Oh, no, we wouldn't. But we might listen to a potion-wielding
I think the best
gentleman.
thing would be Brendel Thuft conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brendel was very intrigued with the goblin that we befriended.
I will say, listener, I'm about halfway through editing our last play session, and they're coming. They're coming. It's real weird to listen to. But they're
It
coming.
was my goal. It was my goal to have Brendel and Thuft talk to each other.
Right?
So
So-
weird.
JT,
It didn't feel weird when we were playing.
Do you ever listen to any other live D&D podcast or anything like that?
No, my exclusive listening of any kind of RPG podcast is the Incorrigible Party. What can I say?
You demand, JT.
And-
you demand.
Yeah, Leland, let me give you my address. Make sure we get I will say this, though. In listening to that podcast, the one that I was on, the editing was superb. It actually made some of us sound intelligent. So I do appreciate that, Leland. So excellent job.
It's very difficult to make you lot sound good, but I do my damnedest.
Oh my gosh, you guys, it's turning into a love
I'm
fest
not
again.
going to compliment him this time. He got all his love last
Last podcast.
Last
last one. Yeah, we're not
Last
doing that
after party.
again.
Well, that is appreciated, JT. Thank you.
One little compliment. I really liked the water sound effects down at the dock.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
I
there was
think
a-
that's the
there
first
was-
time we've had those.
Literally a great tabletop audio ambient. I think it was just called The Docks. It was perfect.
I really had to go to the bathroom after that part, too.
I was thinking of that joke and I didn't tell it because I knew you'd tell me it was a mom joke. So that was definitely a dad joke, JT.
I will take
I was
it.
like biting my tongue.
Yeah, I listen to a few other live D&D podcasts, and a lot of them go pretty long. And I think it's entertaining enough for people who do board game stuff that they could listen to an hour-long session and sort of follow the story along without feeling like it's too much. But that is a leap for people who are board gamers to listen to something like this. I think going into and over to the RPG world from board gaming seems to be this big jump. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did more RPG before I did board gaming. So I think that might be a little bit easier on my end with that. But I also think, too, that there's an element of in board gaming where people are really, there's got to be rules. There has to be some kind of confine of, mechanisms and how do I build an engine and those kind of things that are different kind of juice, if you will, than what you do in an RPG. I mean, I played a lot of video games growing up, and one of the things I love about RPG is the open world and the fact that you can do anything. I mean, with the exception of some things within Leland's world, but besides that, it's it really is something where you have the ability to be as creative as you want to be and attempt to do some things. If you've ever played a video game and you're like, man, if I could just open that door, right? Like, what could I see behind that door? You don't have those limitations unless you have a real big jerk of a DM, right? And,
Right.
That wants you to be on a rail. And if you got an excellent DM, it's such a story that develops in your mind that you can tell over and over again with your friends and other things that come up, almost like a movie. And those are some of my favorite moments in a board game, which is something that tells a story and something that happens that you can kind of relate to or to talk about with your friends afterwards. You're not talking about, necessarily I rolled a 20, right? You're talking about, I did this amazing flip and was able to take out and, behead an orc, right? Those kind of things. Those are the things that you remember.
Yeah, I think as a player, that's definitely what RPGs are all about. But as a listener to a podcast, listening to people play, I mean, what's that thing that makes you want to invest that time to listen to that story somebody else is creating?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a true point. That's a true point. It is difficult, but I will say, though, if it's done right, which I think, this party actually does it well. It's done in short enough chunks. You've got the ambient, flavor to it, as well as this Micro Machine Man thing that about trying to say incorrigible at the beginning of every podcast that I think kind of, brings it all together.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I've listened to others, and sometimes it takes 3 or 4 episodes just to get to know the characters. I think that's the investment. It's hard to get people to start listening to something like this, is they have to take the time to be able to listen to quite a few episodes to like the characters.
Well, I think some of the other ones though they don't actually edit the podcast. So you have these like lengthy, segments in between where they're trying to decide what to do, or hey,
Pauses,
give me a minute, I have to go run downstairs and get my dice, right? Not like that ever happened in the podcast that I was in, but it
not to the listener, anyways.
it doesn't look like that, right? You don't hear that,
true.
right? And I think that's one of those differences, right? Is that
we try to stay in the world when we're in the world.
Exactly.
And that's why we do this after party, which is nice.
Yeah.
I think we've gotten really good at not talking at the same time while we play, which I think is awesome, because when I've listened to some D&D podcasts, whenever there's someone constantly chiming in, like they have the energy that day or whatever, or they're really outgoing, it's like, shut up! Let the other people talk.
Yeah.
But I feel like we do a good job of that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the longer we've
I
played
believe
together.
Gozer has said that to both Bryn and Shaft before.
Yeah.
Well, I do find the irony just delicious that Elena is the one saying that.
Okay. I knew it was a risk that I was the one saying that. So, you know what? People could be listening thinking, shut up.
You're 100% right, Elena. We're all getting way better at kind of reading each other's verbal cues, just the undertones of them, right? And knowing when, just jumping into a particular player's cadence of speaking, and when it can be easily interrupted, but not really be interrupting them, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think when you get on a good back and forth or actual role playing between two people, and then something in the middle, I know Leland has to do it from time to time and sort of break in and say no, or correct something. It can break that moment. I know you've said a number of times, hey, I just didn't want to say anything because you guys were on a roll. So
Yeah,
you wait
yeah.
till the
Well,
end. And
I know I've mentioned before that like my favorite parts are when just the interparty roleplay and stuff, where I'm sitting back and I'm watching now. I'm watching the show. I don't have to do anything because you guys are all, interacting with each other and still within the world and impacting the world in the minute ways that just chatting with each other does. But that's part of some of my favorite parts for sure. And I do hate I hate having to interrupt it, and definitely avoid it as much as possible. Maybe sometimes to the detriment of the situation, and which could possibly leave a player not as happy with the outcome of the situation as they would prefer to be. But that's kind of the trade-off sometimes in trying to get the best out of everybody's role playing.
I think that if we knew the answer to your question, John, we would be really famous podcast, all right? So I think as long as we're having fun and actually interested in listening to our own story, which I think we all are, like, I want to listen to our own story back and enjoy listening to it, which we do.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't super know what makes it more listenable, palatable, whatever you want to say, but I still am interested, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I listen to other podcasts, some of them I can listen to 2 or 3 episodes and I'm done with it. I'm not connecting with the characters or enjoying it. And I'm just wondering how much of that is I like what we're doing because it's us, and how much of it is, really
Right.
entertaining. It doesn't matter to me. I'm having a good time playing the game, right? And
Well, we've talked about it before, too. Like, it would be less fun for all of us to be in our heads about it, trying to entertain the whole time. And it's more fun for us just to let it play out.
yeah, I just do whatever. I don't even think about the fact that we're recording, other than I try to keep my cussing to a minimum. Other than that.
Well, I think the goal of what you're trying to do here too, right, is to also help new players, to it, and give them an opportunity to kind of hear how this works, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
doing that and trying to simplify things, I think also helps. When you're hearing people talk about, action tables and things like that showing up, it's like, I don't think anyone really wants to hear that,
Right.
Oh, hold on. Let me go check my reference book and see if I can find that spell. Give me about 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think at the very beginning, at least the first 10 to 15 episodes, we were a lot more discussing the rules of things as we went along, but I think that's sort of gone for the most part now. I mean, occasionally things pop in, like I think we just corrected the ritual thing at the end of the last episode, right? And little things like that pop in, but I don't think I think if you've listened 30 some odd episodes in, you have a pretty good idea what camping's about, what a long and short rest is. You can roll
How
for
to
damage
debate
and know
which
what your
direction
modifier
to
is.
And I think this is also new for some of you as well, right? I think
For Bill and Elena, yeah.
Yeah. We've actually, I was going to say earlier, I don't know if, and this kind of ties back into board game people breaking into RPGs. I'm not sure I would have ever, if you guys hadn't have harassed me about it, and I'm super thankful that you did, but I had no real interest in listening to an RPG podcast, or even less in playing one myself before you guys kind of peer pressured. Elena you've said before that you were a lot less or a lot more interested in it than I was, but
I still hadn't really heard of RPGs, and I wouldn't have thought, like, we went to Origins, we've talked about, I didn't realize how big of a section of that whole con was like RPGs and stuff too, so just new to us.
I think I was very ignorant. Like I just knew so little about it, and what I thought I knew was not all that accurate in bad ways. So, and
if you knew the rules pretty well, like after, John, you're saying like 10 to 15 episodes, like, and we stopped kind of covering rules, like, that's really only like 2 or 3 play sessions if you're like with a group of friends for 5-6 hours. So, I mean, we're proving that you can play pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the advantage you two have is you have Leland, who's really up on the 5th edition rules. And,
yeah. We're done complimenting him.
Well, I'm just saying, if another group had somebody who had played previously, if you had a whole group of people who've never played before,
that's true.
It'll be a little rougher, I guess you could say. But
Still manageable, still doable.
Yeah, that's true. We've only played 15 times. So we've gotten together on mic 15 individual times, and we're at, pushing episode 40 here. Obviously because we split them up, but we have 15 plays for 2 players.
That sounds low.
It does sound quite low, especially for...
Is it because we just talk online all day to each other?
It feels like we play
BFFs.
way more.
spending time at Leland just feels like it takes longer.
Yeah, it's like an eternity.
Oh, yeah, that too.
drags on and
The
on.
vortex.
Well, I was to your point, John, about like the length of episodes themselves too. I was actually having a conversation with a Twitter friend of mine, Ben the Manic Merc, and he was saying, like, I really want to start listening to the Incorrigible Party, but like, is there like you're on like episode 30 something? Is there like a sooner point, like a good point to jump in somewhere like that's not like right at the beginning kind of thing? And he had mentioned, like, it's kind of, he's in a similar situation with Critical Role. He wants to get into Critical Role, but there's so much of it. And I was like,
Right.
well, our episodes are only like an hour long tops. And he's like, oh, that's easy. That's way better than a 4-hour, Critical Role episode or whatever. So
Right.
I think chopping them into
What's
hour.
Critical Role?
I don't know. I couldn't. I didn't want to ask him and be embarrassed. So I think the decision to chop them into the hour long episodes was a good one that we made, and definitely beneficial.
I agree 100%. And I've stumbled across lots of board game folks who do podcasts talking about, or maybe people who are thinking about doing podcasts, what's a good length? What do you like for listening to podcasts? And I've always been a fan of, once you start getting to an hour and a half, 2 hours, I will still listen sometimes if I really like the show, but it's a big investment to to have an hour and a half or 2 hours that you got to sit down and listen to something. I think the hour is the sweet spot.
I think what some other podcasts do is they have arcs, right? They do like a mini adventure, and they do like 5, 6, 7 episodes, and then they start again and they do another mini adventure. So they give you these little spots where you can pop in to, the episodes. And I mean, that's a good and bad thing, right? I mean, you don't get to follow that character's arc all the way through, I think is the downside to that.
Now, would they even start new characters in the next little like
Some
5,
might.
6 episode? Yeah.
The ones that I've listened to don't, but that doesn't mean... I mean, there's a ton out there, right? But
Yeah.
Adventure Zone does that kind of thing, but they go for a year before they start the new one. But they've done a completely different system, is what they're doing now. They're doing a Monster of the Week
neat.
system.
That's neat. Yeah, I like that.
So they did D&D, then they did something else, and now they're doing Monster of the Week. And they have different characters each time.
Right.
That's the one that I actually originally listened to when you guys were pestering me about D&D, and it's the one that convinced me, hey, this actually sounds interesting. So yeah, I've listened to some of their different arcs, and it's kind of interesting the way they do it.
Yeah, I really like Adventure Zone.
I liked the D&D stuff they did the most, I think.
I do too. It's the personality of the people, I think, is what really boils down to. It doesn't matter what you're playing or what role-playing game you're playing or it's just who do you like the players? Do you like the way they interact with each other? I'm really excited to one day somebody dies and gets a new character and to see how that changes the whole dynamic in our group.
Totally, yeah.
I really thought you were talking about like real life till one of us dies.
Shaft's gonna kill us all.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. And then we can listen to them in memory. And
But could you just imagine a happy-go-lucky guy rather than Shaft? Hey guys, let's go.
oh
let's
my,
go.
he would be potentially more annoying. Is there even such thing?
Hey Bryn, nice sword. I like it. Come on, let's go over and have a party.
Cool voice, John. Shut up.
We're
I don't
so
wanna
used
sleep.
to our characters, that's gonna really shake things up if and when that happens.
Oh man, if I did a new character, I should try a voice. Try it out. It's a podcast for newbies.
Yeah.
I think if John did a voice like that, he would go to a third character.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
The fastest
We'd run
transition
into
to a third character ever.
We'd run into a dragon pretty quickly that all of the rest of us have resistances against, but John is
We'd push him out in front of us.
Everyone passes their stealth check, but John.
I just want you to realize that anytime you guys are thinking about killing Shaft, it can get far worse.
I already have ideas for a new character. Kill me.
Whoa. Sounded like Matthew Jude there.
Somebody kill me or I'm gonna kill myself!
So do you guys, Bill and Elena, if you were going to start over again right now, would you play a character like yourself, personality-wise, or would you go completely different?
Completely different.
I think Falzer in a lot of ways is pretty similar to me, and I think that was just the easiest thing for me to do jumping into this. I would like to try a voice as well, like Elena's saying. And I've kind of hummed and hawed about just introducing one 30 episodes in.
Don't do it.
But no.
Hi, I'm Falzarin.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard you do a
I'm a
voice
real
in your
boy.
life.
Oh, guys.
I really haven't heard you do voices before. This is fun.
I'd like the challenge of, and Falzarin has grown farther, I think, away from me in his character development. So I've found that fun. So I think it'd be cool to if I were to roll a new character, to make one that's very different from myself and
Would you
see if
keep
I'm
the
up for
same
challenge.
classes?
I do really like the wizard. And why'd you say classes?
Both of you.
Oh!
Both of you. I was talking to Bill and Elena.
Oh yeah, my mistake.
Wait,
I'm
I
sorry.
don't have 2 classes.
No, there's a handful of classes I'd like to try.
In addition to
Yeah.
the two you have.
What?
Try class.
So I think that I would make my character something that I'm really not, to be really hard for me and more fun maybe too. Because just like you're being kind of evil, Emily, and like causing evil sometimes.
What? Never.
That seems kind of fun. I think it'd be really fun to be like a pushover and just totally agreeable, because that is not me at all. Like, I have an opinion on everything. So like, but it would be hard, but it'd be fun because it'd be out of my hands. I'd just be kind of more like Shaft is, where it's like, whatever. Shaft's idea for his really fun guys made me want to like come up with like an Eeyore-esque character. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
I'm just gonna go sit over here by the tree. Life sucks.
Oh, bother.
JT, do you usually play characters that are similar to you, or do you play when you've had characters in the past?
Man, you know, honestly, in the D&D world, I stuck with paladins. I like the challenge of having to uphold a certain code, no matter what the DM threw at me, and I thought that was always an interesting dynamic. Other games, though, I would mix it up with different types of characters. I had a guy in Rifts that was what was called a juicer, which is basically a guy that's hopped up on adrenaline but only will live to about 35. And that guy was basically set up after a friend of mine by the name of Freddie in junior high school, who was always hopped up on Jawbreakers. So I used him for inspiration.
Dude, those things were the worst.
Leland, what about you? You played a number of characters. What do you have any in particular that you thought were memorable or different from? I mean, we've already talked about this, different from you, but what's your most memorable character?
Geez, I remember all my characters. I don't know. I kind of just like them all. There's just usually a Dragonborn of whatever class. I just really like Dragonborn.
The correct answer is Thuft. Thank you.
Wow. I have lots of memorable NPCs, but yeah, like characters that I've played. I don't know. I always tend towards clerics, and I also like using the religion aspect in the roleplay.
Yeah.
Much like a paladin, kind of, right? Although I think clerics are a lot more. There's a lot more gray that you could inject into them. Though in 5e, paladins are. I mean, literally, paladins just need to have some type of oath or code for literally anything, and you could just call yourself a paladin. Basically, it doesn't necessarily have to be some type of good deity or whatever. 5e's kind of opened up a lot more, I think, for some of the more the classes where you think would be more devout or more stereotypically good kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll ask this a different way. What character class do you never want to play?
Wizard, sorcerer, warlock.
I would probably never play a barbarian.
Okay.
Just because they don't particularly interest me. Because if I were to be a barbarian, I'd probably want to multi-class into something, but it doesn't. Multi-classing with barbarians is not really great because when you're raging, you can't cast spells, and I would want to multi-class into a spellcaster. So, what's the point? Then either I'm literally either doing one thing or the other, and it takes away the versatility that multi-classing can give a character. So it kind of seems defeatist almost. So yeah, I would never play a barbarian.
JT, what about you?
Never a bard. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Yeah, add bard to my list too.
Yeah, I can't do a bard. I mean, all I can think of is, a cross between like Kenny G and,
I never wanted to play a bard either, and then I did create one just because I wanted to try it out to see how much I was going to like it or hate it. And it, other than vicious mockery seems to be the thing you do pretty much all the time. They're good support characters if you have a good, solid group. But, I guess if you were a singer and you wanted to be able to add that in, it might make for good role-playing. But they were okay. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but but that's probably not the one that I would choose.
Well, we've mentioned before that, or I've said before on an after party that I think bards are very game specific, group specific, I should say, whereas they excel in role playing situations more so than combative situations. So if your group is heavily leans towards one or the other, it can certainly make a bard's play experience more positive or more negative, for sure.
You're going to be the guy talking to everybody.
Right,
Because
exactly.
you're going to have that massive charisma, right? And you're going to be trying to convince everybody. Which you think I would really enjoy playing that kind of character, but I guess in our other group, we don't role play as much, so it doesn't come into play as much as I'd like it to be.
The thing, too, is, like, you don't have to be a bard to be that type of character.
No, exactly.
I think I'd probably feel the same way. The bard is, because of what you guys are saying, something that I think would be the biggest challenge for me, because role playing is what I'm still the least comfortable with. I'm enjoying getting better at it.
You don't want to sing on mic?
Yeah, no, the listenership would immediately plummet to 0.
No, you have a nice singing voice.
Well, thank you. Anyway, yeah, I think I'd consider a bard because I think it'd be a good challenge, but I'd be pretty weary of doing it.
What was the question again?
What class?
How much do you hate bards? I think that's what that's what's kind of delved into.
What class would you not want to play?
Oh, bard would be the first thing I want to play.
Yeah, I figured that. Elena's very musical, so
I don't know much about classes, but isn't fighter like the least? It's like vanilla.
No. Well, yes, but no.
Okay, so that's a mixed answer. I don't know enough about any of them.
Leland, I think you're going to say what fighters have a lot of. I mean, they can add additional dice to their combat.
Depending
right?
on the type, they can have like maneuvers and stuff. And
Can we have the listeners vote for what Bryn should multi-class to? Because that's what everyone else is doing. She really wants to. Because everyone else is
Gozer's
doing
not
it.
multi-classing.
I'm not.
Well,
gonna multiclass.
how do I know? What's a good rogue multi-class?
everyone's been talking to Izzy, except Bryn.
If you see Gozer cast Eldritch Blast, then you know she's multi.
If you see Gozer cast anything, you better run.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. I think it'd be cool to cast spells, but I don't really know if I want to deal with that.
It's a lot to track.
It's definitely more homework, but I find it really
In the game that Elena runs for us, launching October 1st, I'll play a bard.
Oh, what?
We considered having an all bard group.
Yeah.
Just be a band.
A troop of bards, yeah.
It's just a band. We're traveling around and we get into all kinds of hijinks.
I would
We're like the
love
monkeys.
to play a game where the party is one single class. Doesn't matter what class it is. I think it would be interesting.
The D&D version of Spinal Tap. I can just see it right now.
There you go. Yeah.
Do we want to get some of these questions?
Oh yeah.
Do we
Oh,
have
yes.
any more? Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Bill Ben asked, and this is not for the previous 3, but for previous to the previous 3. When Shaft was engaged with the frog and failed the strength check and the tongue attacked, should that have given him disadvantage on his next attack, like the tongue was stuck to him? He doesn't really know any rules, but it just seems like a giant tongue stuck to you might make it hard to do things. And also, did any of us think that Shaft was going to die?
Yeah, we thought Chef was gonna die.
Shaft thought Shaft was going to die.
I wrote Shaft off already. Shaft was dead.
I knew that Shaft had the lucky thing up his sleeve that he could use, so that gave me a little bit of reassurance. But yeah, I was worried.
Wait, Bill, I'd already missed 2.
Yeah, when you grab that bag of holding instead of saving.
Yeah, one will do it. It doesn't matter how lucky you are. One.
Bill sealed Shaft's fate.
Whether he liked it or not.
Yeah, I was starting to think up new names because I thought we were going to die there. I did when he took the bag rather than help me. There.
That would have been amazing if that had killed
Gozer
Shaft.
was
Ugh.
the one that saved you.
That's true, yeah.
Only an RPG player is when his life flashes before his eyes does he start thinking of new names.
Yeah, it's not even his own life. It's in the next
Yeah.
character's life.
This is like the third time this has happened in these 30-some episodes.
So to answer the first part, I think if I stated in the episode itself that Shaft was grappled, that's actually incorrect according to how the Banderhob's tongue works. All it does is pull, because it can reach out to like 15 feet, right? It flicks out like a frog or a toad, and it just pulls the target if they fail the strength check against whatever DC it is within 5 feet of them, so they can bite as a bonus action and swallow the target. So
the tongue didn't stay stuck.
So it didn't actually mechanically grapple Shaft. So I think I misspoke when I was using that tongue. But even if it did,
Sorry.
Proper use of the tongue is important, Leland.
but even if it did grapple Shaft, when you're grappled, it doesn't impose any disadvantage on your attacks or anything. It just restricts your movement.
Okay. So I think we all understand how the tongue worked on the Shaft.
That's right.
On Shaft.
I just want to note that was Bill that said that.
Yeah.
There. I'm gonna start putting little lines. Yeah, a tally behind. I think Bill and Elena are actually way up there. But I will go back and listen to after parties at this point.
That's one of those moments where out of context does not help you.
And that's why John's next name will be just as creative, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I created Shaft mainly because of a conversation you and I had prior.
I know.
So, yeah, it was just for fun, just to get a reaction out of you. And then it sort of worked into the whole backstory, too, so.
Uh-huh.
So it's your fault, really.
Does anybody want to read Jessica's other questions?
Why don't you take them, Leland?
Sure.
Oh, I could tell it was her by the way it was typed. That's so funny.
She has a few comments. She says, "Ugh, I have so many questions for the AP, but all of them are spoilers for other players. Suffice to say, what the fuck? To Gozer, Falsey, and Shaft.
What?
Also to Bryn, saying that Falzern is too trusting and then oversharing, or too trusting and oversharing after the massive overshare that happened on the docks. Maybe stay away from the hard liquor."
I did ask for the hard stuff.
But to follow up on the multiclassing discussion last after party, she posits, what is your favorite combo and or what is the weirdest combo you've ever seen? How about John, Emily, or JT? Do you guys usually multiclass? Do you guys like multiclassing?
Never have.
I have, but it was a long time. I used to do fighter magic user back in the old day. That seemed to be the...
Aren't you multi-classing too, Shaft?
Nope.
Are we sure about that?
It's news to me.
I'm not sure about that, but
What do you think what do you think his classes are? If he has multiple.
I don't know. I'm just suspicious in general.
What makes you think that he's picked up another one?
Because he's always doing solo sessions with Leland. I don't know. So are
Is
you.
that how you
and
get your
you're
second class? You
multi-classing.
gotta go do a solo with Leland?
It's like a blood pact.
It's a rite of passage.
I don't really know Rangers and all their spells and all their things. He seems to have a lot of stuff going on, so I don't know. I'd be
Yeah.
completely clueless.
If I was going to, it would be with Thief, right? Rogue is what I would multiclass with, because I think there's advantages to that. I can't think of any other. Paladin Warlock might be an odd multiclass. That'd probably be the
Contradictory.
strangest one. Yeah, and I think we've had a player in our other group that's done that. So that's probably the strangest one.
Oh yeah.
It is kind of interesting for backstory purposes. I had a cleric sorcerer, and he was kind of weird. I really liked it though because mechanically there was a lot of synergy with the domain, the cleric domain that I took. the Tempest Domain. And, you can use an ability to basically max damage on a lightning-based spell. And, I then chose all my sorcerers. He had all lightning spells. So, every once in a while I could put out a real full max, like lightning bolt or something. And so that was kind of cool.
I think if I ever did a wizard again, just straight out wizard, I'd want to do something other than evocation, because I think everybody does evocation just because it's the blasting power. I think I might do some kind of illusionist type of thing. I think that would be a whole different ball game. So maybe if you were going to multi-class, have maybe some kind of a rogue illusionist might be a really cool combination, because you can cast something over to make somebody look somewhere else while you're stealing stuff. So you don't need to rely on anybody else for that. That might be a cool one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be neat. I haven't done really I haven't picked any spells with Falzarin that would have led me down that path, but I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, Warlock's got a lot of cool stuff.
What's interesting about 5e is that a lot of the in the base handbook, anyways, a lot of the classes, they usually have one subclass that basically serves as a multi-class without having to multi-class. Like a magic using fighter, you can go into the archetype of Eldritch Knight and as a fighter and get some minimal spell casting capabilities. Same with the rogue. As a rogue, it's basically you're like an illusionist. You get a bunch of free like illusion spells from the wizard list and all that kind of stuff.
It's pretty limited, though.
It is very limited, yes.
I have an idea for after party. We should have one-on-one or with the groups that can talk about certain things. We should have a spoilery after party where, like, it's only a few of us at a time or one of us at a time.
So then we'll have sections of the after party we can't listen to either?
Well, yeah, we wouldn't. Just don't listen to it, because you'd only be able to talk in your part.
It's the after party.
Yeah.
We could do after party in character.
Kind of. Or, like, we could just answer questions, or Leland or other people could come up with questions where it's like, Falzarin, what were you thinking with this and this and this? And Bill can give his rationale, and we don't ever have to hear it, and then splice in the next character.
The Incorrigible party turns into The Office.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I would strongly urge any listeners out there to just contact the individual players. Just send them a Twitter DM or to their personal Twitter or whatever to
ask questions.
ask them some questions. Jess and I have plenty of conversations about like DMing stuff.
So Leland doesn't want to do more editing is the answer to that question. But I tried.
Listen, I have to be there for
You do
every
enough.
single thing. It's like, I can't
I
handle
know.
all of it sometimes.
You're the common thread. I can't quiz Falzarin on why he did what he did. I would know too much.
Well, maybe eventually we get to some point. Maybe we have a bonus after party focused on some of these. After some of these things have been resolved. Maybe we can, and fully known should they ever come about. I don't know. It's weird. It's like unwieldy to kind of do.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to get on the Game All Night show. He'd mentioned he'd like to have us on after all of this is resolved, and we can hash out all the spoilers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we never really discussed how long we kind of wanted this particular campaign
I'm done.
to go for.
I'm ready for it to be over.
What?
Joking.
Emily.
I'm joking.
Episode 40. You find a bunch of cubes sitting on the
gosh.
table. You walk in, everybody gives up.
I just figured we'd die and then we keep doing the same mission because it'll never end. We'll never actually get to those towers.
That's one of the funnest things for me is this story that's being spun, and I want to know what's going to happen. I want to. Part of me wants to go back to that cave with all the goblins and find out what we can, do. See what happens if we go back there. Do we end up taking over and
Duff's Cave?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Part of me wants to go up to Pisces and do this whole
Kill
side
Erica?
quest with Isabella. I also want to see what, go to the towers. So, there's 3 different things I'd like to do. But
And the river. Don't forget the river now.
All right.
yeah, now the river.
I have faith that our DM is going to interweave everything that we do to eventually.
Oh yeah,
get
if he
it to
throws
where it needs to
Brendel
go.
in like that, I mean, we're good.
Yeah, he just
didn't
has
have
to
it
have a
planned.
Brendel
Yeah.
occasionally. If we kill Brendel, there'll be some other dude that pops in.
Oh
and-
yeah, we can
We
kill
are
Brendel.
not killing
can't we?
Brendel.
Some other mysterious figure from Falzarin's past. It's like, you know what?
Falzarin will be
It's like
pissed.
that game show where they have the person behind the curtain. Do you remember this voice from your past?
Yeah.
It's always what I think.
Any more
about.
questions? Anything
Nope.
else we wanna?
Plugs?
You guys didn't ask me about multi-classing, but that's
Oh,
okay.
that's okay. We'll ask you about it.
Your
next
least
after
favorite
party.
multi-class? We don't know.
Okay.
Well, look, the cat's kind of out of the bag here, Bill.
What cat?
What are your thoughts on multiclassing?
I think there's two ways to think about it: mechanically and narratively. I find it really, really interesting narratively, and I think that spoiler for Elena.
I already assumed. Here's the thing, though. Was it your idea or Leland's?
Totally Leland's.
Because I wouldn't have known what
I didn't-
multi-classing was.
I had I don't think I had any warning. All of a sudden I was abducted, and Leland's like, "Oh, guess what's happening? This is happening." And I was like,
I
"Okay."
knew it. It's a railroad all the way.
No, I loved it
Come
though. I thought it
now.
was really,
Come now.
All the live long day.
really interesting, and I think it really worked with what Falzarin is interested in.
Benefits you.
So
Uh-huh,
narratively, I
uh-huh.
thought it's really cool, and mechanically, it's interesting too. I mean, I did some googling after that happened, looking into multiclassing and specifically the path that I'm going down, and I do know that if you're a min maxer, it's not the best choice, but that's fine.
It's not your typical.
What's a min-maxer?
multi-class, no.
If you're playing D&D mostly for the combat and you want to be the most effective damage dealer and yada yada yada,
Oh, you're already not that, so
exactly.
perfect.
So plow ahead.
So keep digging that
But
hole
Leland
you're
did
in.
help me out with that a little bit, and I don't think anyone knows about that. But
Nah, you still can't shoot worth a crap.
You got a stats buff?
I want to make sure he doesn't take 2nd level warlock and has to go 5th level wizard so he can get fireball. I'm not going to let that die.
You know what, Emily? That actually. Sorry to interrupt you here, Bill.
no problem.
Before you finish your thought, that brings me to a rules correction. Actually, that Eldritch Blast that Falsey hit you with should have had a 2nd beam because Falzarin is a combined level 5. So he only hit you with half his power there, Gozy.
He should have gone full blast.
Yeah, look out,
You're
Ed.
a combined level 5? We're
You
not even
should
level
have
5
gone
yet.
full blast and really just knocked Gozer on her ass. That's the only way you're going to get her respect.
That
I want a multi-class.
Elena,
was
you are
me,
all level 5.
Not knowing.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, everyone's 5. Well, everyone's 5 except Falzarin. Technically, I'm a combined level 5.
I want a multi-class. How do I do it?
You have to have some alone time with Leland.
yeah, that was solo section with me.
Is it really worth it? Is it the alone time? Alone.
I think you definitely want to pick 2 classes that synergize well. And so
I want to be a paladin.
for a spellcaster, you don't want to be. You don't want one of your groups of spells to be relying on charisma and the other one to be relying on intelligence, because you're going to have one that you focus most of your.
So I need to multi-class with a dex-based character.
Yeah, that would be good.
Let's do it.
Ideally.
Paladin?
Yeah.
I want to go in disguise and Colt.
You could start learning from Shaft.
Shaft will teach you things.
What?
Oh boy.
Okay, we done?
Look at the time.
So I think that was all the questions we have, right? We covered
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a million more questions now, but whatever.
John, you were mentioning that you're interested in shouting out a couple of things you're liking, and I don't know if anyone gave you a heads up or not, JT. If there's anything that you're into recently that you want to pitch that you think listeners should give a listen to or watch or whatever that's interesting.
Yeah, I think our Love Fest last time went great. I mean, everybody was just really enjoying telling each other how much we loved and cared about each other, and I just wanted to feel that again by casting a little love to some of the people that make me happy as I watch YouTube and other things. But
What are we loving on this time?
my two shout outs this week is
Two?
Yeah, I got two. I got two. One of them's board game related, and the other one. Well, I knew you weren't going to do one, Leland, so I had to make up for your
that's
for
acceptable.
your lack.
Yeah.
So Inside the Box. I'm sure you guys have all watched their videos, and what I like about those guys is they make little short clip videos for board games, and they do sort of like what I used to do when we and Emily years ago when we did short videos.
I got remembered.
You did get remembered. Yeah, we used to do little short clip, funny video things like that, and those guys do, I think, a great job. So I wanted to give them a shout out for the stuff that they're doing. And then my second thing I wanted to bring up was the Craftsman. Now, has anybody have anybody seen the Craftsman?
Yes, we
You
have.
recommended it to us a little while back, and I went down a YouTube rabbit
That's
hole.
the guy that talks like this.
Yeah.
Craftsman.
Hello.
Yeah.
He's great.
The Craftsman makes little crafts, little miniature figures and things, and he is just the most calming individual. If you've ever want to watch something, he'll go, "We could do this, and it's okay if you mess up. It's okay. It just makes you feel so comfortable and relaxed."
Like a
Bob
Bob Ross.
Ross-ish, kind of.
Yeah,
He's
right.
a little
Oh,
Bob
yeah.
Ross, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
I'm turning him
Craftsman.
into an NPC.
That would
Yes.
be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. I would.
Now,
yeah.
just so we're clear for the listeners, it's Craftsman minus the T.
That's right. CRAFS. Yeah. So if you want to watch something that's entertaining, you got to give it a couple episodes, because the first episode you might go, "What the hell am I watching here?" But this is so relaxing, and I wanted to definitely give a shout out to Craftsman. That's all I got.
JT, you got anything?
Oh man, as far as a shout out, it's probably just because it's just recent, and not because I've known him for a while. But Daniel Robinson, Plumpy Thimble, his dating profiles as board games is just fantastic. And he just did a Monopoly one today that he posted out that you have to see. So I would.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so spot on. I felt like I was in an old relationship.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. He's done some really good stuff.
Yeah, we got to get him on one day.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Did you have anything, Em?
Yeah, I want to shout out to Pair of Dice Paradise. Chaz Marler is a really great guy. Always been super friendly to us. He's starting his season 7 fundraiser today, and every little bit helps. But he's great. I love his videos. He's a very, very funny guy. I've always enjoyed watching him. He was on Dice Tower. He's not on, or on Board Game Breakfast. He's not on there anymore, but that was where we first saw him.
Yeah, I think he's now with BGG, right?
Yep, now with BGG.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for him. I like his stuff too. He's an entertaining guy, and we met him in Origins. He was really friendly.
BGG's sucking everybody up.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's
they
got
are.
the Brothers Murph, too.
No. Gonna be the new Asmodee. Well, adios. What about you two? You guys got some specials?
Do you have anything, Elena?
I am obsessed with Bon Appetit's
Yeah.
YouTube page.
That was going to be mine.
I'm
What is
obsessed.
Bon Appetit.
Bon Appetit, spelled the French way, whatever.
It's all about cooking, basically.
It's an actual food and cooking magazine, but then they have a test kitchen in Manhattan, New York, and they've YouTubed for 5 years.
Yeah, it's
Their videos are incredible.
I would not ever normally be interested in watching a cooking YouTube video unless there was a dish that I wanted to make and I wanted to figure out how to do it
just
properly.
end up
It's
so
really
happy.
entertaining.
It's so happy.
Yes. If you want to start anywhere, I'd start with
Brad Leone.
Yeah, Brad Leone. It's Alive. He is hilarious. Guy
He just
cracks
ferments
me up.
stuff. But the editing, it's like the timing, the editing. Brad himself is just the nicest guy. It's such a fun channel. I just
really-
watch cooking shows all day now.
You really get sucked into the characters of these people that work in the test kitchen, and it's good.
What was the name of it?
Bon Appetit.
Okay.
BON.
They have like 8 million followers, so you'll find it.
They don't really need our shout out, but
Well, yeah.
they're
Now
great.
we're gonna put them over the top, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're gonna
9.
explode now.
They're gonna
I know.
totally know that the follows are from us.
Are you guys foodies? Do you like cook stuff and you get into that kind of thing?
We really do not go out a lot. We cook in a lot. I like to cook if he cleans up.
Yeah, I'm not a great cook, but I
We're
try.
learning though.
Yeah.
We started cooking some stuff that we've seen on there.
I'm not a great cook either. Fortunately, John will eat just about anything.
Yeah, I can't trust Bill's palate, but
Everything tastes good. To
I
me.
think I'm a good cook. Anyway.
You are a good cook. But yeah, highly recommend. It's very entertaining, very feel good.
Okay, I'll write that down. I think I spelled it wrong though.
Of course you did.
BONAPP.
I've
Close enough.
I've posted videos in our Discord channel multiple
John,
times.
it's bone without an E.
Without an that's Bon.
Bon appetit.
It's French.
It's French.
Come on, man.
Oh, if I use the E, I might get a whole different site.
Yeah.
Yeah, you very well may.
Bone appetite. I think that's what I just put down.
If you typed in BON on YouTube, you'd find it.
That's the real good SEO there. So, JT, why don't you give us some of your own plugs, and then we can kind of sign off here.
Okay. JT with the G Club channel, and it's at G Club channel on Twitter, and that's where we're kind of active on Facebook at G Club channel and YouTube. If you're looking for reviews, some fun board game videos, come check me out and see if you like it. And if you like it, my name is JT. If you don't, my name is Leland.
Well, I have certainly been attached to some very terrible media in the past, and will continue to be going forward, so that is quite all right.
Do you think we should maybe try and plug Christy even though she's not here?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard because she does a million things. I don't know how she manages it, but I forget her.
Peace-loving
She's
games.
Peace Loving Games, but I think it's abbreviated a little bit on Twitter, isn't it?
I think it's Peace, Love, N Games,
Yeah, end games. Yep.
and Peace, Love, and Games on Instagram, I believe.
Yeah, she takes some
She's
great pictures
a good
there.
photographer.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's very talented, absolutely.
Her Instagram is Peace Love Games, all one word.
And then she's also doing this new thing, more family directed with Daniel Robinson.
Yeah, their blog.
Pockets of Play, is that
Yep.
it?
And then her Chaotic Goodness podcast.
Right.
You're right, yeah, another Let's Play RPG. That is not Dungeons and Dragons, actually. They do, or at least they were doing a hybrid system. I don't know if they've changed since I had listened last, but yeah, very entertaining.
Maybe we'll get her on another random after party sometime.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there we go. I do have one more. The T Head Popcast. They have 2 really good episodes. You can check out. You can just do a search on my name, and you'll figure out which ones those are.
I wonder what those 2 episodes could possibly have in common, other than myself, of course.
Well, the first time the Incorrigibles were on, Frankie was a puppy.
That was the very first podcast I'd ever been on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or wait, had we already
Way to-
we started
way
playing
to set the bar.
when you had us on?
That was we had started playing. Yes, that was
We hadn't released it,
pre-launch.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pre-launch.
That was
Okay.
pre-April, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, the memories.
Pre-launch.
Yeah, I was just a young tot. Such a bright future. Now look where I am.
We were all shiny.
All right, I think we're wrapping it up. I've been John.
Emily.
Who's next?
Okay, let me start again. I've been Shaft and John.
I've been Emily and Gozer.
I'm Elena.
I've been Bill and Falzarin.
And I'm Leland Steele.
Wait, what about JT? He has to say
He
his
gave his
guys.
plugs. He's enough.
No, he is Percy the.
Oh yeah,
whatever
we
the
give
hell
us
it
the
was.
rundown of the name again?
Aren't we just adorable when we screw this up every time? We're so cute.
And this has been Percy, the previous paladin who protects against the pestilence of pride without prejudice.
Very well done.
Pride and Prejudice.
Okay, Leland, wrap it up.
And I'm Leland Steele. Happy adventuring.
See ya.
Keep listening.
And that's our show. Our intro and outro music was created by Josh Jarvis. For your own musical inquiries, contact jamesmercymusic@gmail.com. All other music and ambient noise is courtesy of tabletopaudio.com. The Incorrigible Party is sponsored by Critical Hit Design. Visit criticalhitdesign.com for all of your graphic design needs. You can find more info on the characters and world at incorrigibleparty.com. Enjoying the show? Have any questions or rules corrections? Email us, contact@incorrigibleparty.com, or reach out on social media. The Incorrigible Party on Facebook and Instagram, @IncorrigiblePar on Twitter, using the hashtag AfterPartyIP for a shout out during our behind the screen after party episodes that drop every 4th release. Happy adventuring!
This is what Bill hates. This is me.
That was very fast, Bill. Thank you.
This is the sound.
Stop.